Yeah, so lots to get into. Oh man, it's been wild, pretty wild last few days. I've just been trying to organize a lot of different things, a lot of different interviews, because I want to be getting some things going for the fall, for September. Working towards getting a outdoor kind of setting, hopefully, so that we can do more one-on-one interviews in person. That's kind of the goal. We're going to be getting some stuff done for next week, as well as also just reaching out to more people, especially in regards to the Steve Lansky video. I found that was a pretty awesome experience, and I want to be doing more things like that. I want to be replicating that. Also, just getting a little bit more deeper into the whole story that the Don Cherry video presented itself, because I think that there is a lot that we can garner from that video. We can expand. We can look into more insights from other people that worked with him. I really want to talk to him, talk to Ron, talk to as many people as possible. But hey, the NFL is upon us, and unfortunately, it's another NFL video. So a lot of interesting things have been in development, have been happening. And it's really just a weird space and a weird time to be watching the NFL and just taking in all the news, because I don't really know how to feel about the things that I'm hearing and the things that I'm listening to, the stories that I'm trying to be a part of. I'm trying to look at them and think to myself, are these meaningful stories? Is there meaningful developments? Or are we just going nowhere? Are we creating problems where none exist? Because that is so easy in the sports world. We see one thing, we take one sentence, we turn it into a paragraph. We take a word and we multiply it by 2. When that's just not the case. And there's a lot of things that we can look at and think that this is a real news story, but at the same time, a lot of things that just aren't. As well as questions, what can we really take from the interviews, from things that players have to say? And it's really just hard to understand, kind of hard to digest. And that's probably coming from the area where people are just also trying to find the hidden message in a lot of things. So when it comes to the NFL, it used to be a lot simpler, right? It used to be, Mr. Smith, how is your O-line? And does it need improvement? Now it's, Mr. Smith, how is your team supposed to react? How are you going to react towards the cryptic message that Aaron Rodgers posted on his Instagram story yesterday, hinting that there might be possibly some work that needs to be done with the O-line because he might be not satisfied with this. So he might want his old Green Bay teammate back. And those are the kinds of questions that people are having to report on and talk about and discuss, and then just becomes a huge question. But you know what all that NFL news is to me? It's a great big nothing sandwich. That's what that is. Asking these cryptic questions, trying to get them decoded, like we got to get Alan Turing here to figure out exactly the use of cadence in every single person's tone, and trying to combine in moods with how players are feeling at certain times, and how that is supposed to depend and change the narrative on how we view Instagram stories and tweets, and what people have to say on Twitter and the photos. It's like everything used to be so night and day, and now here we are bickering amongst ourselves, things that do not matter, things that do not affect tangibly or impact in a realistic, real-time situation that's supposed to make us view things differently. I made a video I talked about Dalvin Cook and Ezekiel Elliott joining the team, because that is a real news story. They are physically going from one team to the other. They used to be a free agent, and now they're making this amount of money. But now we have to decipher all these things that do not matter, that are problems where none exist. And that is the level, that is the kind of things you're going to your news app or your sports app, and you're going to the news section, and only thing we hear is coaches and management responding to quotes and tweets to clear up the air because they're so cryptic. And it's like, this isn't real news. This isn't real things that are impacting us today. And I just don't understand why these things matter so much. I understand that there's a lot of ways you can take this. You can say, Matt, if you're paying attention to these things, if you're following, you're keeping up with it, and then talking about it, then this is the kind of thing that's going to encourage it. This is the kind of thing that's going to keep it going. It wins, okay? These kinds of things that players are talking about, it's completely ridiculous. This is the kind of almost the culture, the level of communication and how we deal with things, how we communicate with one another. It's not night and day anymore. It's all got to be coded. It's all got to be cryptic. And in the end, we're not getting anywhere. We're not figuring things out, and nothing gets solved. Nothing gets brought into the light. So that's just one of the things that's very, very difficult to deal with. But at the same time, there are a lot of things that we kind of almost have to just take. It's like getting information is just a lot harder and harder, and I completely understand that. And it's also at the same time, I do feel like there's a lot of importance in just not giving the media a whole lot to work with, because I don't want to be talking about these kinds of things. I want to be bringing them to the attention of how inconsequential they are to talk about things that don't matter, but a real news story, that's impactful and that's a lot more meaningful, instead of just focusing so much on things that don't matter. And so if that's the case, you know what, then maybe that's probably for the best. If we just don't know anything, so we have to make up nothing. We have to make up stories that do not exist in reality, because we have such a disconnect from the players and the teams and the clubhouses. I'm thinking in baseball terms, because in the baseball world, a lot of the times what happens in the clubhouse stays in the clubhouse, and we, the viewers, the audience, the customers, the spectators, the ones buying the tickets and sitting down watching the games, we don't get a whole lot of information, because we just get the business side, the business answer, the press conference before and after the game. We hear the fabricated answer, and that's kind of all that we should be getting, because at the end of the day, it's a business. You got to protect your rear end, and you got to expect to win. You got to expect and just almost be marketing that. That's what you're paying for. You're paying for a team that believes in themselves, no matter if they're top of the standings, bottom of the standings. And that's just where we're at right now. But with football, it's very much so hype, and expectations are huge. It's not like that in other sports, because in other sports, there are a whole lot more games than just a small NFL 17-game regular season to prove yourself. So there's a lot more reconciliation. There's a lot more belief. There's a lot more ability and opportunity for trust and for loyalty, because you don't just have one game, and if you mess up, then you're done. The careers can be a lot more quantifiable, because there's more of a population size to work with. But that's something completely different. I'm just talking about how cutthroat the NFL is. But it's exciting though that the NFL season is coming up. Obviously, with all that said, I do enjoy the NFL, and I really am excited for this upcoming season. But the whole media side of it is it's really hard to kind of navigate with an open and clear mind. As well as thinking for yourself. Like, that's what I want to encourage people to do. Think for yourself when you're reading news articles, when you're taking in all this information. That's what we have to do the most as fans, because I'm just a fan at the end of the day, talking about this stuff, sharing my opinion. So yeah, we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be getting it all going as the NFL season comes closer, and that's all super awesome.